Hey, good morning,
Scott.
Misfits. It is great to have you all here. It is May 13th, 2020. It is the 448th episode. I hope everybody's doing amazing. It is a Wednesday morning. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have possibly some tears or maybe some awakenings. And all I know is that together we can help each other have more, do more, be more. And I just appreciate you all being here. As we get started this morning, I would like to welcome any folks who are new to the call. If you're new to the call, drop an N in the chat and let us welcome you and say, hey, good to be here with you all. And go ahead and send out your 3 messages of love, of gratitude. Hey, Frosty and Jason, great to have you here. Go ahead and send out your messages of gratitude, of joy. Send out 3 messages. I know it seems like a very simple thing. I know it seems like a very easy thing to do. Or maybe it's a very uneventful thing to do. I can promise you this. If you do send them out and you do it on a consistent basis, great to have you here, Carla. You'll have, things will begin to change in your world. See, when you start to send out joy and gratitude to folks, just anything that makes somebody go, oh, or smile or awaken or read some good news, we really need that right now. There is a coalescence of frustration that's happening in the world just because of COVID. And there's this release of tension that's happening in a variety of ways that if people look back in 3 months, it's not who they are. And there's a lot of people out there like that right now. So if you send out these messages of joy, of gratitude, you'll be amazed what happens in the course of a week, of what happens to you and through you. So that being said, welcome everybody. Hey, he made it. There's a buddy of mine on here, Mr. Scott Schilling. Good morning, Scott. How are you, brother?
Absolutely fabulous, but I'll get better.
We got a little special conversation planned for you all this morning. So let me ask you this. How many of you have ever had a little situation in your life that turned into more than a little situation? How many of you have ever had a little situation in your life that turned into a really, really, really big situation? And what I mean by that is, let me just ask it. Scott, what's the title of your book? How many of you have ever had something like this happen? That sucks. What now? So Scott is a very dear friend. For those of you that don't know or have yet to have the opportunity to have met Scott or meet Scott, Scott Schilling is a very dear friend of mine. And he stood on stages, more than 2,500 stages. He's done more than 2,500 live events. Selling from the front of the room, has sold over, is it like $10 from the front of the room, Scott? How much have you sold from the front of the room?
Probably over 25 million.
25 million from the front of the room. And these are in 90-minute segments, 90-minute chunks when he was doing it. Has stood on stage with the likes of, I don't know if you all maybe have heard of Jim Rohn or General Powell or let's see, who else? Barbara Bush or let's see here, Mark Victor Hansen. Let's see, there's Nito Cobain.
Leslie Brown.
Leslie Brown, absolutely. We've all kind of circled back to Les here just recently. And what I asked Scott was, Scott's going to have an offer. And the offer is to acquire his book. And also he has this amazing workbook, but we're going to do a little exercise out of his workbook today. And Scott, tell me, this is the 15th book that you've published, right? That you've gotten out to the market.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and great to be with the Misfits again. I mean, I'm officially one, by the way. I was one of the first ones. I just don't make I don't make a lot of the calls, unfortunately. But this all came about because I was working diligently to get in the call the other day, and I tried every combination of link in the history of ever and couldn't get in. And so it was just kind of funny. Anyway, um, I've been very fortunate to want to document or to really to want to serve more people. My first book, Talking with Giants, or actually it was not my first, it was my first standalone book, came out of lack, actually. Cynthia Kersey had made this impassioned plea to support Habitat for Humanity. And it was at a time where I was in a corporate role. I made decent money, had a nice living, but didn't have any excess. I know nobody can relate to that, especially in what's going on today. But she made this impassioned plea that just so touched my heart. And very interesting. I was sitting between two friends, and the friend on my right said, "Did that hit you like it hit me?" And I said, "Absolutely. Are you kidding me? God, we got to support this." I said, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "I'm going to write her a $50,000 check." I was like, "Whoa." And I turned to the friend on the other side who kind of had been leaning in, listening. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, I can't write a $50,000 check. I'm going to write a $5,000 check." And they both looked at me at the same time and said, "What are you going to do?" You ever have one of those times in your life where you've never felt so small? You've never felt so much passion to do something, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't write a check. And it was like, oh, this feeling of so wanting to serve other people and to so want to support Cynthia and building homes for Habitat for Humanity and all the different things. Anyway, I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something." And they said, "What?" And I said, "I have no clue." Well, as it came along, I went to the back of the room and I said, "Cynthia, my name is Scott Schilling. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I got a lot of friends with a lot of money. I can't very well ask my friends for their money for me to help you." And she goes, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "Oh, I see." And I went, "That just doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything. It just means I don't have a clue right this second." And so what happened was that later that evening, and it happened to be Mark Victor Hansen. It was very interesting. I was in the lobby of the LAX Marriott, where the event had taken place. I was waiting for my red-eye flight home, and Mark Victor Hansen and Dear Abby came walking through the lobby. And Mark saw me and said, "Hey, Scott, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just hanging out waiting for my flight." "Well, come on, why don't you join Abby and I for dinner?" So next thing I know, I'm with Mark Victor Hansen and Dear Abby at dinner with all the speakers and all the notables that were at this event. And I looked around and I said, "How do I know all these giants?" And all of a sudden the word giant stuck in my head. How do I know these people? What do I know about them? Well, they all have great hearts. They all have a desire to give back. They all want to make humanity a better place to live. Huh. And so I just kept on thinking about this and thinking about it and listening to the conversations at dinner. Anyway, went to get on my flight and I said, what if I did a book? What if I did a book that simply talked to my giant friends? What if I was just talking to giants? There was the title. Became Talking with Giants was the title of the book. Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Cynthia Kersey, Harvecker, T. Harvecker, the CEO Kimberly Clark, just all these people who had accomplished so much in their lives, and yet, as they accomplished so much in they all had a philanthropic bent to them. What I mean by that is they all had a desire to give back. And so I said, what if I simply interview my friends, go from the standpoint of they haven't always been who they are today, what they go through, what things did they face, how did they get to be the amazing giants that they are, and then because they're giants, they now are philanthropic. who do they support? Why do they support them? How can we support with them? Well, it ended up being 15 interviews, 21 charities in the book, and all the proceeds from that book have gone to those charities since 2007. So just because I couldn't write a check didn't mean I couldn't do something. And that was the start of recognizing that it's not always a monetary contribution. It could be a, how do you invest in other people? Let me think, who does that extremely well? Mr. Sean G. Murphy. It doesn't always have to be monetary contribution. It can be your heart, can be love, can be, what do you have? What assets do you have? Take a inventory of what your personal assets are. I'm looking at some fabulous smiles on this Zoom. A couple of you, dang, you stop smiling at me like that. I mean, you're just touching my heart. So the fact is, you have far more assets, you have far more abilities, you have far more possibilities to do more to make the world a better place than you even dream of. It doesn't have to be complex. Sean knows that I say this a lot in trainings. You can learn just about anything. What you can't learn typically is want to. If you got want to, you've got the rest. Because if you want to do something for others, if you want to make the world a better place, if you want to contribute, the rest is just an idea. Then you hang around with amazing people like Sean G. Murphy, who all of a sudden puts something in your head that just doesn't allow you to sleep for months. And the idea sprouts. So thanks for making me emotional early, Sean.
Hey, listen, well, let's get it out quick. That you know you're part of the right family, because that happens here a lot.
Yeah, I know.
So one of the things that I absolutely find amazing about Scott, I mean, you look at him, right, and he's all together there, right? He's a human being. He's this guy. He's this amazing icon of the industry. And Jim Rohn's tribute, he's actually part of that Kyle Wilson had put together for Jim Rohn as he was transitioning to the other world, a tribute that was put together. But you wouldn't know. Listen, does anybody here know somebody a family that has had a stroke? Family members had a stroke and they had a little issue with their body afterwards. Their body wasn't quite the same. Well, the guy who sits before you here, it's hard for me to say the word because it's like a high education word. It's something Bellum stroke. What was the stroke you had?
Full-blown cerebellar stroke. The cerebellum is in the back of the brain, responsible for speech, memory, fine motor skills, walking, talking, vertigo, all sorts of really important stuff.
It looks like none of that has affected you.
By the grace of God, he brought me through it all, better for the experience.
So might that have been one of those moments? That sucks. What now? So folks, one of the things I wanted to bring Scotty on here for is he can tell you a little bit more about that story. But in this book, we've all had those "that sucks, what now" moments in our life. And the book that he has written, the guy that wrote it was a mentor. The guy that wrote the foreword to it is a mentor of yours. Who was that again? Maybe some folks might know him.
Yeah, the foreword was written by the guy who sold second number of books compared to the Bible, and that would be 500 million books in Mr. Jack Canfield. So
when I say I have some pretty amazing friends, right? What makes me smart is not me; it's the names I have in my phone. Scott's one of those guys, and so the medical name of the stroke was a full cerebellum stroke, and the doctors that he was with, by the grace of God, at the time it happened, said there's no way you could have had that. They wouldn't have sent you home with a headache and some aspirin. But yeah, that's just one of these stories.
Oh man. They released me from the emergency room 5 hours after going in with a major migraine. They actually released me from the hospital. I went on set the next day, shot 3 TV shows, then went to a neurologist, had an MRI, and they said, get your butt to the hospital, check into ICU, you've had a stroke. And then I spent 6 days in ICU.
Yeah, so, just little things like that. Scott has had the hand of God. Many of us have had the hand of God watch over us and keep us safe. But these are things like you just go, you can't. And the neat thing is that Scott's actually has the x-rays that show the cerebellum, the MRI that shows the cerebellum stroke had actually happened. This isn't somebody making something up. So you've been through these things, Scott. When people get the book and they read it, they're going to be amazed and in awe. But you've also got this workbook that goes along with it that I thought was brilliant. There's a couple of things in the workbook. We talked about yesterday briefly doing some exercise out of it. What's the exercise that you wanted to run people through this morning to give them an idea of what they'll have with the book?
Well, the one exercise, there's an easy exercise that we can do with input from anybody here on this call. And that is what I did. Somebody asked me, I was doing a radio show a while back, and they said, what's your biggest failure? And without thinking, I just responded, I haven't had one. And they said, come on, we all have failures. And I said, no, I haven't had a failure because of the way I define the word. And they said, how do you define the word? I said, very simply, nothing is a failure until you quit. Everything else is simply a learning event. And it's amazing when you reframe that word specifically in here. You take control of that word, that there is no such failure until you quit. So therefore, everything else is just a learning event. So the one exercise that I thought would be really valuable for the misfits, because we can walk you through it very easily, is 5 steps or 5 questions to ask yourself in any situation to turn an event, a situation, something that happened into a learning event and a positive in your life, something that will serve you from this point forward. So that's the one that, Sean, I think we can do. Anybody could share I went through blah. How can that be a positive, or how can that serve me going forward? And I think that would be a great one for the audience to be able to walk through. And it's a breakthrough kind of exercise, because it's amazing.
And I know that I remember the 5 questions and here's the thing, a lot of speakers borrow different people's stuff. This exercise has always been so impactful for me. I get so caught up in being the student in this. I don't know that I've ever asked any of these questions because they're just so powerful. And I'm not sure what to do with it sometimes. So I hope everybody gets some pen and paper out, and because this could be a significant thing. So there is going to be an offer here. I would love for you to go get Scott's book. Scott, where can they get your book at? tswnbook.com. That sucks. What now? tswnbook.com.
tswnbook.com.
There's both the book and the workbook there.
There's both the book and the workbook there, and some extra goodies for those action takers.
And if you do that, Scott and I are going to put on a 2-hour training for anybody that attends. That by itself is probably worth a lot more than this, but I really want to help Scott get his book out. So those of you that purchase, you can send it in Instagram or to me a copy of the receipt, and we're going to put you in a 2-hour training. So that sucks. tswnbook.com.
Correct.
And you can get both of those there. So Scott, let's go ahead and start with the exercise.
Sure. So let me give you the 5 questions so that you can clearly write them down. And then I'll go back and I'll walk through why you ask yourself these questions. Okay. Because then you'll know the foundational basis for the questions.
Well,
then
let me ask this to folks, because just to get them interactive, because some of them are just waking up now. If you would like to be able to have 5 simple questions that are very deep, but 5 simple questions you can ask in any situation, event, or moment in your world that'll make it a learning experience. If you would like that, type yes in the chat. Okay, good. That's what I love about the Misfits. These I say these kids on here, they're absolutely amazing. Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay, so here are the questions. What was the lesson? What was the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it next time to make it better? How will this serve me the rest of my life? Now, again, I'm going to go back through each one of them. What was the lesson? The reason for asking this question is simply we want to turn any event into a learning event. And if I ask myself, what is the lesson? It turns it from a potentially negative event to something that will benefit me going forward. So psychologically, as soon as I ask myself, what is the lesson? Basically, that clears the path for taking away the angst behind the situation, right? Because now you have an anticipation of something good coming from this potentially negative event. Makes sense psychologically? The second question is, what was the gift? What we realize is when we ask ourselves, what was the gift? You will learn to identify something good out of everything going forward. The real theme for this book is all things work together for my good. All things. It doesn't say all good things work together for my good. It says all things work together for my good. So if I analyze what's the gift, I'm now seeing that it shifts me into a gratitude mode. Wow, weird way. I'm glad this happened this way. What did I do to create it? So many times we don't take credit for the good things in life. If something good happens to us, we tend to attribute that good to someone else. Well, if there is good to be found, doesn't it make sense that you should get some of the value? You should get some of the congratulations for creating it. So again, psychologically, it's to lift you back up through a potentially not so special situation. How would I modify it next time to make it better? How would I modify it? Well, even though we've taken certain actions, many times we're so unconscious competent, the 4th stage of learning, the 4th stage of growth, or consciously competent. We know that we know, but we kind of do it on autopilot. How would we modify it next time? Well, we would go from unconscious competent to conscious competent. We would drop down from just doing things by reaction to thinking about it for a second. What if I would simply take a breath before I executed the thought? Something like that. And then the last piece is the recognition of all things work together for your good. How is this going to serve me the rest of my life? Why would I want to Why would I want this to serve me? Well, I want it to serve me because now it's a value. We all love to be served. Why don't we serve ourselves? Why don't we take this situation and serve us from that side? So what's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it? How is this going to serve me the rest of my life? So, Sean, I think it'd be valuable if somebody had a situation that they may not think that it's, as yippee skippy as they would like it to be, right?
So if
Again,
somebody out there has a situation that they would like to, so, okay. Ada, if you can chat this morning, then Scotty can walk you through this process if you want, my love.
absolutely.
Sure. It's a little vulnerable, but this is my second marriage, and both marriages have seemed to go the same way. And I'm choosing to stay in the second marriage, regardless of the second baby, regardless of some situations. But mine is being cheated on, having both husbands have affairs on me. So I'm looking at it like, how can those be blessings? And knowing that it could possibly happen again, how do I just embrace it?
Okay, great. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing.
I love her. She's such a powerhouse.
No, it's fabulous. So what's the lesson? There's a lot of different directions you could take this, right?
Yeah.
So
Could I add one thing to it?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people, like, especially family, they ask me, why do I stay? Like, why don't you just choose to go and like start your life over? But I choose to stay. And everybody's like, just get out and run, So that might add a little extra confetti or sprinkles on top.
Well, what's the lesson? The lesson is that sometimes people, even good people, make bad decisions. Okay? Sometimes good people make bad decisions and do things outside what you would prefer them to do. Okay? What's the gift? The gift is during the times that you're together, you recognize a certain level of love that must be pretty incredible. And that's a gift. What did you do to create it? Well, not knowing the full situation, that's one for you to, but in every situation, there's a yin and a yang. Maybe there's a lack of communication. Again, I don't know the situation completely, so I'm just trying to be as open to the possibilities here, right? Maybe there's
I can clear up anything if you want me to. The marriage that I'm currently in, there is no love there. Well, there's love for me, but the other person is very, very resistant. And so I hold on to almost the memory of what it used to be.
Okay. And obviously I hear little ones and things like that too. So what do you do to create it? Well, maybe what I did is I didn't have the conversation of what do you need to be loved, to feel love. Maybe it's something like that, right? How would I modify it to make it better? I would have that conversation. This is important enough to me to want to have that conversation that says the only thing I want is a wonderfully successful, loving, caring marriage, right? How is this going to serve me the rest of my life? Recognized that I had a tap on the shoulder, a tap on the shoulder, a tap on the shoulder. I might not have taken any of these other actions. All of a sudden I got a 2x4 up beside my head. I got maybe I need to start listening and learning and then taking some of those other actions better. So I'll give you an example. And this is my situation in here. This story is in this book. So I got divorced when my kids were 10 months and 28 months old. I came home from a from a business trip to have my wife say, "I want you out." And I said, "What did I do?" And she said, "Nothing. I just don't love you anymore." Well, wait a second. We got a 10-month-old and a 28-month-old. How does that happen? Right? And so in doing so, I said, can we do counseling? Can we do anything? Can we go it, can we work on this whatsoever? And she goes, "No, better to be from a broken home than in a broken home." When the hell did our home become broken? How did I miss this? Right? So what I did is I took that responsibility of I hadn't been attentive enough in a variety of things, right? I started going to I started going to counseling. At 6 months into counseling, the counselor said, "You don't need to be here anymore." And I looked at her and I said, "You don't tell me how long I come here. This will never happen to me again. I'm going to come here until I feel like I've got what I need." And I went for 2 years. Now, what's the next part of that story? The next part of that story is I've now been married almost 25 years. Okay. Again, this isn't about me. This is about you. I'm just saying that there are reasons that these things happen. Marriage is about trust, right? And trust has obviously been broken. So what has to happen is trust has to be reinstilled. Well, how would you reinstill trust? You would reinstill trust by understanding the other partner better, what their needs might be, why they do what they do. And so again, these 5 questions would help you. What's the lesson? What haven't we talked about? What could we talk about? How could I learn from this? What's the gift? That the times that are good are really good. What I do to create it? Well, again, I'm sure you're a tremendously wonderful mom. And so maybe there's a lot of mom time. How would I modify that? Make sure there's grown-up time. How's this going to serve me the rest of my life? I want and deserve that love. I want to have a loving marriage. I want to work on it. I'm willing to work on it to get where it goes. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I've actually been in that position pretty much the whole time of it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm headed to work.
It's all good.
So I always kept myself as like an outsider to the situation in the sense of looking at it from an observer standpoint. And so even when I first found out about it going on, I wasn't even worried about myself. I was worried about him and his feelings and how is his needs not being met. And I had come to find out that this had been going on well before our relationship.
And that's how the universe works sometimes. It just
So I always looked at it from just like a loving standpoint. How can I, love him unconditionally even more? How can I, better serve him? And even like when I found all the evidence and like literally landed in my hand, I was just like, what can I do to love you? I forgive you. And then after about 3 years of it going on, then all of a sudden I started to take it personally. So like, whoa, like still 3 years, like all I've been doing is loving you, loving you, loving you. So like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I just stupid or something? And I just started to really take it personally because I'm like, I'm not perfect, but I feel like I'm a really good person. So.
Well, I think a big part of that is you've got to have, again, if you have that desire to make it as good as you can possibly make it, is up the communications line. We talk about it all. Sean and I talk about it quite a bit about, people do business with those they know, like, and trust. People date those they know, like, and trust. People marry those they know, like, and trust. It becomes about trust, and it's like, how do we make this better? How do we? I would approach it from how can we make this situation better, and go from there, and really try to look and learn from it. Again, there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, that's not a place to, there's no place to internalize this. It is what it is. And again, I didn't like, sometimes at some point, if it's an untenable situation, then you make other decisions. But for right now, I think you work on what you can work on to move it forward, to try to gain some more information. I congratulate you for, I'm one of those people too, that we're going to make this work, you know? So that's actually why I came up with some of these things, is to give myself the tools to be able to work through some pretty tough stuff. Sometimes that happens in life. I agree with the comments. You're tremendously strong. Congratulations.
And I think that goes back to my morals and values of how I was raised too. You know, and I was raised to, you work things out, you fix it. There's nothing that, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if there's something wrong, find a way to make you both like resolvable. So I've always been one to like quick resolve things and not sweep it under the rug. And so I study my spouse every day. He finds it annoying, but like I study him because I'm like, okay, if he likes a certain thing this way, a certain thing that way. And I know preferences can change because that even changes within myself. So I'm like, that's why we have to check in with each other all the time, because, today you might like blue and tomorrow you might like black. Your preference change. And it's just a matter of, dancing with those changes as we go through life. I mean, I know I've changed a lot since we first met. And so it's just not finding balance, but I don't know what the word is necessarily, but just finding a way to make it work in a healthy way.
Yeah. I mean, those are the, obviously there are people that are far more credentialed with specialization in that area. I would talk to some of those folks just to, to take it to the next level from just, you deserve to be in a loving, healthy relationship. And,
and Scotty, I just want to, because a lot of people that are on here, we're all looking to also build a business. And a couple of things that pop out to me is listening to this. If you're listening to this, you could ask yourself the same questions. Meaning, what's the lesson? You hear somebody who's had some heartbreak, who's had some challenges, who's going through some pain right now, who's learning how to deal with it, who's steeling themselves to strengthening themselves to want to fix this. What if that person sitting across from you has that same feeling going on? Do they really need to hear a comp plan? So what's the lesson as you listen to this, as the observer to this? Listen, Ada is this amazingly strong, powerful woman, and she has some incredible gifts that have yet to be revealed. We start to see some of the beginnings of them, right? Service, servitude, gratitude. So as you listen to this, is it possible that you're sitting across the table from somebody who might be experiencing a level of discomfort, a level of pain, as you hear that's being described this morning? How can you be what's the lesson for you to be a better person to help somebody through this? Mm-hmm. You follow me on this? So I would encourage you, as you listen to this, listen, everybody has to make their own decisions. And we can sit there in the comments and go, you should do this, you should do that. Yeah, we all should all over ourselves. The reality is that this is something that Ada is dealing with. She's vulnerable enough to share it. But I would ask you, what's the lesson you're learning from listening to this? Because it's in that listening, you're going to come across every single soul. So we hear Ada, but imagine if you were sitting across from a Heather Love. a year ago, who hadn't really told anybody she'd been in a Colombian prison for 3 years and had to deal with all of that. And so much so that when she did tell her story, the National Geographic did a documentary on her. And the documentary did so well that it's actually going to be the launch to the season, this Locked Up Abroad. We hear about these things. We go, that would never happen.
Right.
But this little powerhouse of a woman that you listen to and you hear her, right? So these stories, as you go through it, I would encourage you, listen, I can't fix anybody else. You know what the crap I got to fix in my own world first.
Yep.
So as Scott writes this book, That Sucks, What Now? These are life experiences that he's gone through. These are experiences that he's using for you to read and go, not feel bad for him. Yeah. Or we can all do that. There's 103. On the count of 3, we'll all have a pity party. 1, 2, 3. Aww. And now that's done.
Exactly.
That's the best we can do for Scott. And any more than that, it takes us away from ourselves. So after what's the lesson, what's the next question, Scott?
What's the gift?
So the gift is listening to Ada right now, who has been vulnerable, who has shared this, who has that peanut, who she sexily has right in the back of the camera for all of us to fall in love with a little pink or purple pom-pom on her binky. The lesson is what's the gift is, we got to experience this. I want you to sit there and understand, you get to, when you sit down across from the table of somebody, it is a gift. You get to experience the individual. Scott, I don't know how many stories are in your book. How many stories are in the book?
Oh, geez. It's 192 pages. So there's a lot. There's a lot of different stories.
So in this book, what people are reading, when people are reading it, I was blessed enough to have an advanced copy. One with still some spelling errors in it. So that's how fresh that was. The gift is, what are you looking for in your world to give you an awakening? All too often, we're looking at everybody else's greatness. We're looking at everybody else's joy. We're looking at everybody else's gifts of fame or infamous, and we're looking for it to say, I want that. Well, I promise you, when you read this book, and I see many of you, my Instagram is blowing up. You guys are amazing. Thank you for getting all of your copies. I would encourage you to also get the copy of the workbook, because that is what's going to allow you to walk through some amazing exercises on your own. So the gift is, you get to look at Scott's life of, oh my gosh, how is this guy standing? How is this guy even like talking to anyone? And not even because of the cerebellum stroke, because of when he takes a company from 5 million to 108 million in 5 years. How many of you would like that? Take a company from 5 million annual sales to over 108 million in annual sales in 5 years. There's some lessons in sales, some lessons in marketing, some lessons in duplication that are pretty powerful. But all along the way, these bombshells, these absolute blow-ups that happen. So yeah, Daniela, what we're doing is Scott and I don't even know if he knows I threw him out there, but we're going to do a 2-hour workshop for anybody who gets the workbook and gets the book.
I love it.
So that you can walk through this. We can help walk you through this. And anybody, the first 10, and I think the first 10 are maybe gone, that get them both. I'm going to do a private one-on-one 30 minutes with you. Why would we do that? A, because we can, but B, because this book is that powerful. Everybody that reads the book says, this is the next great awakening for people to read this. So Ada, I know I saw you got yours, and Shammy got hers, and Michelle got hers, and Roz got hers. So I appreciate everybody. And Scott, what's the third question?
What did I do to create it? And I think the situation is, we don't give ourselves enough credit for our own efforts much of the time. And that's really a shame. We're far more creative than we understand we are. We take far more actions. It's one of the things that, quite frankly, kept me from getting the book out sooner is, you know, there was no desire to chronicle my life or all the crud I had been through. There was zero desire to remember any of that. But there was a desire to share with people how I figured out how to go through it. Now, here's the next thing that happens, because it happened to me, which is, again, why the book's important. I didn't think what I did was anything special.
How many of you think that? Right. Yes, if you get the bundle, that'd be great. So how many of you believe that the things you've been through in life were nothing special? If you believe there's a lot of things you've been through in life, it really wasn't anything special. Type NS, nothing special, NS in the chat. Look at this.
Yeah. So it was really funny because it took me sharing it with a friend like Sean. I remember I sent out the advanced copy at 80 pages. And here's what's funny. Jack Canfield, when he was getting ready to do the forward, I sent that same 80 pages to him to get a flavor of the book for the forward. And he actually corrected, he copyrighted, he proofed the first 18 pages. And then he sent me a note and said, "What the heck am I doing? I am not going to edit your dang book."
I remember you called me that. You said, I sent it off to Jack. I go, "What do you think?" He goes, "Well, he edited the first 18 pages and then thought he had lost his mind."
Anyway, but the point is that it wasn't until I shared with friends like Sean and some others where they went, "How the heck did you think of doing this?" And I said, "Well, doesn't everyone?" And the response was, "No, they don't." And I was like, "Really?" And so again, that third question becomes, what did I do to create it? Because we have to understand that God has built you uniquely and perfectly. And you have got more answers and you have got more strength than you even start to believe and begin to know. And so when you ask yourself that question, what did I do to create it? All of a sudden you start to go through all these different things and you start to actually go, well, that was pretty cool. How did I think of that? Or what was it? Sean, you know this because you were part of it. Not too long ago, I had a day that and I actually did a video that said overwhelm is real. And I did a video on it that said some not such great things happened. Anybody ever have a day where not such great things happened? Right?
But most people will shove it down in and go, I just can't. It's a breakthrough for the wall. It's the thing that starts to tear down the wall, but we put it down underneath. And what it does is it builds that foundation that we can't even dig under the wall.
Well, and what I did, the first action I took is I pulled, and again, I'm not apologetic about this in the least. I'm a Christian. It's not my job to get you to believe what I believe. It is my job to be a representative of what I believe and encourage you to believe in something. Now, if you want to talk to me, great. But understand we all need something beyond us. Okay, my feeling. So I turned to 6 friends and I sent them a text. And in the text, I simply said, "Please pray for favor. Pray for a friend." That's all I said. I didn't say, by the way, I was the friend.
Yeah. No, we all got it when we got the text. You thought you were being sneaky.
I thought I was being sneaky. But what was so amazing out of it is one of the 6 texted back and said, "Hey, put in some prayers for your friend and a couple for you just in case." And so they were being sneaky back. But here's what's so amazing about it. And I had this conversation later that day. The result of the story is then I called Sean. So I sent the 6 texts out to friends. And then I called Sean and I just said, "Tell me something good." That's all I said. I didn't say I'm getting kicked on every side. I didn't say, blah, 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 blah. I just said, tell me something good. The strategy was to hear him being happy. Because if it's possible for my friend to be happy, it's possible for me to be happy. Does that make some sense to everybody? So so I reached out and I said, tell me something good. Well, Sean was telling me about this and that and all the other, in his normal style, being very chipper, and it was awesome. And then he said, so what's going on with you? I go, oh, nothing. I got to go. I'm a bad liar, by the way.
Yeah.
and anyway, the net result of all this was a couple things. Number one, within 2 hours, favor showed up. Just mind numbing.
I remember that day.
Yeah. But the second thing was a friend of mine called who I had put in another call to. He wasn't available. And he said, share what's going on. And I shared with him. And he goes, I just want to thank you. And I said, for what? He said, you just taught me one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned. And I said, okay, now I'm confused. Go ahead and let me know, what did you learn? And he said, you went to 6 friends and asked them to pray for favor. You didn't ask them for the solution to your problem. See, if you would have asked for the solution to your problem, that would have been man-made. You would have chosen the way that you would have been satisfied coming through the situation. When you prayed for favor, it became God's way to provide the solution. And so again, that's the point here is for Eloise, pray for favor. Right?
It's funny you say that because when I finally took it personally, the threats came on extremely strong, and even threats to my life. So I had to leave, and I left for 6 months. But surprisingly, because I was at a point where I didn't even want to live anymore. And no, I wasn't suicidal, but it was like, God, just bring me home. Like, I shouldn't have to deal with this pain anymore. 2 weeks later, I find out I'm pregnant with this one, and I'm like, whoa, I thought it was done. I thought this was done. Why did you give me, a child? But in some ways, and like, that's why I even ask myself, what is the gift in all of this? Because, first marriage.
By the way, safely look at the gift in the back seat.
Oh, I definitely see that. But then, so I ask myself, is she just the gift out of it? Was I really supposed to leave? Because I'm back in the marriage. I only left for 6 months during the pregnancy to stay safe. And there's still challenges. But I try to ask myself every day, like, what is the lesson in this? Because I thought I learned it with the first marriage. What is the gift in this? Because, I see my children as gifts. I have 2 from the previous marriage as well. But I try to look at it from all different angles, and I don't know.
Again, I think if you run the 5 questions consistently, I guess where we were is what do you do to create situations? And so the reality is that I took specific actions that, again, I've come to find people go, well, how did you think about doing that? Sometimes you're just led. You're led by spirit. You're led by, I've written checks to 19 mentors over my career. And my statement to my mentors were, give me everything you got and I won't keep it. I will share it with my students. And so what happens is when you, Zig used to say, positivity doesn't change everything, but it sure gives you a better foothold on it than negativity does at any time, right? The fact is, I'd rather be positive and have a great attitude and go through things. Doesn't mean we aren't going to go through them. I can assure you, we will all go through stuff. Nobody has ever assured us that we won't have challenges. What has been said to us is that we will, higher source, God, your spirit guides will walk through those challenges with you. I mean, there were 3 Hebrew teenagers that walked through the fire, but didn't walk through alone, but they walked through it. They didn't walk around it. They still got thrown in it. So the point is that we get a lot of these things. And that particular day, it was absolutely amazing to reach out to folks and understand again, the next question, Sean, how would I modify it to do it differently the next time to make it better? I would have called you sooner. I would have sent the text to my friends sooner. Understand there are more people in your corner than you possibly believe. This is a ridiculous statement, because I was going to say, if you feel this call is of value to you, that was the ridiculous statement I was about to. Of course, this call is of value to you, not because I'm here, but because Sean's here and what he's doing on a daily basis to be of service to each and every one of you. He does an absolutely phenomenal job. You have no idea how many times that we have a conversation where he'll go, oh my God, the breakthroughs today, the seeing people's life improve, not change. People resist change. They love improvement. Watching people's lives improve through these calls, the sharing, the vulnerability, the everything that's going on. I mean, I'm honored to be able to call Sean G. Murphy my friend. Whew, there we go again.
I love you, brother. Listen, you bet. I hope you've got. I hope you got enough books, because this crew, these misfits, are blowing it up. My Instagram is getting message after message of everybody wanting to get the books and the copies. So listen. Here's the reality. Scott and I are going to do a 2-hour workshop. Imagine being able to have him emotional and not emotional, me emotional and not emotional, but you and us, a handful of you, whoever that is, gets on there. The first 10, I'm going to do a private 30-minute one-on-one. I'm guessing, Scotty, I don't know what your schedule is, but you might throw something out like that.
Absolutely. Just use me, Sean. Throw me out there.
I'm using you to sell your own book. Wait a listen, yo, baby, let me go get my pimp hat. I'm pimping Scotty out.
No, I mean, I would love to participate wherever and however I can.
Because here's the thing. You guys have, this is in 448 episodes. I've never sold anything on here. But when a friend of mine says, I got a book launch coming, I go, I have the people who are just the right ones for it. So that's why it's coming out here. That's why we're giving ridiculous offers, because too often you would see these books and never get it. Too often you would see these stories, you'd hear about these stories and say, that's not me. Too often you'd say, well, I don't know how I could use that. Well, we want to take away your excuses. See, right now, listen carefully. If you're paying attention, you are being prospected. I can only teach you what I can do. I can only preach what I do. And if you decide to get the book, that means you've listened. That means you've heard something. That means you believe there's more value than what it costs you. Nothing is overpriced. It's undervalued. So when you present to your crew, to your audience, are you presenting more value than they ever could? And here, listen carefully, please. This is why I don't present a company. This is why I don't talk about a comp plan. This is why I talk about the value add. This is why I talk about being able to spend some time with Scotty and me for 2 hours. What? Well, shit, Sean, that's like, based upon what you get, if I was on stage, that's $15K. My hour, let alone what Scotty could sell in an hour. So why would we do that? Because this is a misfit crew. This is my family. This is the misfit crew of people who don't quite fit in out there, but are looking to see how can we be of best service to be out there. So why would we give this? Why would we not charge? Why are we giving away this ridiculous offer? Because you deserve it. You deserve it. Listen, you guys get, this call should end right now. That's an hour. That's what it was designed for. But it has morphed. We'll do 3 hours. We'll do 4 hours. We probably won't do 4 hours. Where's RBP? Look at that. She just ran off the screen. The point is this. I want you to have more of what you want. Scotty wants you to have more of what you want. Scott, I'm telling you, some people are going, this is the secret workshop that I've been waiting for. This is the book I've been waiting for. Well, and the workbook is powerful. Yeah, $25 for a workbook? Are you kidding me?
20.
Oh, 20. Yeah, I am kidding you. It's not 25. That'd be ridiculous. It's 20. Here's the reason. And some of you are in Canada and you can't quite get it. Listen, reach out to Scotty. Scotty, how do they get a hold of you? Is it scott@scottschilling.com?
Scott@scottschilling.com, my name.
And email, same thing?
Email, same thing. I mean, again, same thing. Can I send it to Europe? Absolutely. It goes everywhere and anywhere. The only thing I truly want out of this work, it's interesting. Let me pull back the curtain. It took me 5 years to put this out. There are things in this book I have never told anybody.
Yeah, because I've called them and I go, I think you got, I don't know where, somebody must have slipped something in here because I thought I knew you.
No, but let me tell you how I figured this out. So part of the book, as I wrote, I was actually probably channeling, and I didn't think that until it actually happened. And so my editor called one day and said, how do I not know this about you? I feel like I know you. And I go, what are you talking about? Well, I just read this section and I never knew that you had been through this. And I said, oh, well, I've never told anybody that. Anybody in my life. And all of a sudden she said, has Peggy read the book? Peggy is my
bride,
wife, by the way. And I went, oh no, she has not. And the editor said, don't you think that would be a good idea? And I went, yeah, probably should. So she read about this specific incident that I've never told anybody on the planet about. Think how this is coming down. You can probably imagine this, but I'll give you the worst guy answer in history, the worst husband answer in history. When she said, we've been married close to 25 years. How do I not know this about you? Here's the worst guy answer in history. I've never told anybody about this. Just write that down, guys. Do not ever write it down one time so you never say it. I'm just telling you. To which she responded, I'm not just anybody. Whew. What's the lesson? Make sure your wife knows you're disclosing some things. What's the gift? I'm still alive. What did I do to create it? I had a bad case of brain damage that day. You know, how would I modify it next time? Obviously, let her know. How's this going to serve me the rest of my life? Just one more example of how the 5 questions help you get through something and really do it. It truly is. This book has everything from personal, physical stuff. I mean, Sean, you asked a little bit earlier about, how many stories in the book. It's easier actually for me to think of the stories. I completely severed my Achilles tendon. I was told I'd never walk right again. I'd never play sports again. I'd never walk without a limp. I'd blah, 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 blah. they were wrong with all of that. I was back on the field in 75 days.
Oh yeah, I used to play college football as well for the Hawks. What was
Iowa
it?
Hawkeyes.
Iowa. They have a football team.
Hey. I played for the first Texan North, Hayden Fry. So, but so, you know, that was one. Then there was the incident that followed that. Then there's, how do you get through a divorce? How do you get through, you know, unfortunately, far too many people are facing that. How do you do it with small kids? How do you make it the best you possibly can going through? There were some financial crises. There were a variety of different things. I was very fortunate to speak on the Get Motivated circuit with Colin Powell and Laura Bush and Stephen Forbes and Lou Holtz, and I mean, name a name, Jack Canfield, Tom Hopkins,
Harv T. Eker,
you know, but there's a story in the book.
You know they're your cool friends when you don't use their middle initial. Harv Eker. No, it's Harv T. Eker. No, Harv Eker.
T. Harv Eker. T. Harv Eker.
So see, I can't even get it right.
So
anybody can do this.
But the point is that there's a story in the book that I am convinced that I did not have that opportunity to speak on those stages in front of 25,000 people, to speak in front of 25,000 people. That wasn't the reason. I'm convinced that wasn't the reason I was there. I'm convinced that the reason I was there is because I got to go to the prayer rooms prior to speaking and be prayed over by a local team of prayer warriors each and every time we did one of those events. It was part of my spiritual growth. It was part of the path that I had been put on to be of service for the rest of my life. So sometimes we wonder, there's a quote in the book. This is a writer downer. That would be, this would be one that you take out a pad and a pen and you write down. Everything in life is perfect. ... As time passes and perspective is gained. The reality is everything in life is perfect. ... As time passes and perspective is gained. Now, I'm not going to say that the minute something happens, you think it's perfect. I'm not being naive in the least. But what you'll find as time passes and you learn more, you can now you can be reflective on those situations and go, oh, I get what you're saying. That is perfect. Garth Brooks wrote the song many years ago, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. And it talks about my old high school flame. And I thought we were going to, get married. And I thought we were going to do all this different stuff. And it just didn't work out. And I was heartbroken. And oh my goodness, thank God it didn't happen that way. Right? We don't always understand. My encouragement to folks, and Sean, you and I talk about this a lot.
Hey, Scott, real quick, I just forgot. Aren't you offering, isn't there something else that goes along with, listen, so I'm going to remind you for the 2-hour workshop, book and workbook, right? So if you didn't get the workbook, maybe you want to go back and get that. But Scott, you're offering for people that, does anybody on here travel? I forgot to mention this.
There'll be a lot of pent up.
I know there'll be a lot of pent up, but if you plan on traveling at all, type a T in it. Type a T in the chat. Because Scott, what is the other thing? I forgot this. This is how you're also giving them a passport for how much?
$100.
So $100, is that $100 for just the book?
That's $100 for just the book, but there's also $100 for just the journal.
So you're going to get $200.
$200.
Yeah, listen, for all of those that you already bought the book, you already got the $100 in Travel Savings Passport. This is something I've been using quietly for years because of Scott, to discount my hotels and discount car rentals and for local vacations and all of that stuff. But you're going to get $200 in Travel Passport savings. Now, yes, this is the promotion. This is to help my friend out. This is to promote his book. But you're getting $200 just right off the bat if you don't join any of the workshops, join the 2-hour workshop. So get the book and the workbook. And then I think there's more than 10, Scotty, that like, because I wasn't sure how many would buy. 10 that bought the half hour, right? So here's what I'm going to do. Crazy enough. It may take me a while to do it. It may take us a while to do it. But
count me in whatever you're about to think of, because I usually get brought into it anyway.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, you're either going to come willingly or not. But you're going to get a half hour one-on-one with me, and I'm going to throw Scotty under the bus. You'll get a half hour one-on-one with him, right? The
Absolutely.
first 10 that did it. So I'm just going to bump that up now to the first 20, because I think there's probably that many that are there already. Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
yeah, when you get both the book and the journal, you get $200. You get two $100 travel savings passports.
And getting the book is fine. Getting the book is fine. Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to love that. And I'm sure we'll do something for all of the folks who bought the book. This is about right now. So here's the behind the scenes. I want to serve a friend.
And your friend is greatly appreciative.
And I know that. And he'll have many of 100 books. I think you already hit number 1 in 3 areas. Best-selling book.
It was number 1 new release in 3 different categories.
So all to say that this is about you participating in something that is new, something that is a journey, something that you can say you were the first one. Listen, there's only one chance to be the first. And I don't think you've done any promotion on this yet, Scotty. Is this kind of the first promotion on it?
Yeah, pretty much. We did the Kindle launch, and then you let a little time. Typically, the way it works is you launch the Kindle to get that status, and then you launch the books. So literally, the box with books should be here today, and somebody gets the first one. So,
yeah, well, I live not that far away, so I'm going to follow the UPS truck to your house.
Yeah, no, I'm really honored to be on here, to be of service to everybody. Here's what happens over time, gang, at least to the best of my understanding, is we go through all the different things we go through in life.
Hang on, Scotty, just another question. So are you going to be shipping these books out from you?
Yes, sir.
So the question was, would you sign it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I trust me. Scotty will sign these books, and don't be surprised if maybe something else might get dropped in there as well. But yeah, no, Scotty, of course, is going to sign it. And who knows? I wouldn't sign it.
You're actually in the book. Here's what's funny. Sean does. I mean, he kind of knows he's in the book, but he doesn't really know he's in the book. A lot of my friends are in the book. It's what I went back to share a little bit earlier. You've got to surround yourself with great people. And there are a whole lot of people that are a whole lot smarter than me out there. When you start to understand, and when you look at all these incidences in your life are happening for you, not to you. They're happening for you to become better, to become more positive, to become more impactful, all these different things. Things don't happen to us. We're going through, has anybody noticed we've been locked up for like 35, 40, 50 days? I mean, we've been all stuck in wherever we've been stuck. Now the question is, are you stuck at home, or have you been safe at home? The reality is those are choices. Again, a big part of the book talks about decisions and choices. And so the reality is languaging is so important. I typically never use the word. It's really funny. Somebody said this the other day. They said, I've never heard anybody not use the word negative. And I said, well, why would I want to use a word that I don't want to have happen? And they said, so what do you say? I say, it's either positive or less than positive. So there are ways of languaging. There are ways of saying it. People resist change. They love improvement. I want to have situations improve. Why would I want to purposefully go into resistance? Doesn't make any sense to me. We're going through a worldwide improvement right now. Now, some people are going, oh my God, the sky is falling, everything's going down. Da, 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 da. There's no doubt that we're in unprecedented times. There's no doubt there's a lot of junk going on. There's no doubt that there's a lot of challenge being created. But have you ever noticed how resilient people are? Have you ever noticed how creative people get when their back is to the wall? Have you ever noticed how sometimes a reset only happens when it's forced? We're kind of in a forced reset. Have you also noticed how many people are much nicer today? Like you go to the grocery store and they'll go, no, please go ahead of me. You only have one item. Well, they should have been doing this for years. But now all of a sudden, because we have a pandemic, you let somebody go ahead of you in the line. That's what it took. So again, it's not, I've had plenty of junk happen. I've got my challenges. Everybody has their challenges. It's how do you choose? What decisions do you make to choose to go through this? I am so honored that Sean would choose to allow me to speak to this group, to work to be of service to you, and that he would honor me to the extent of offering the book to a group that nothing's ever been offered to. I'm honored by that more than you know, because it's a couple guys, one that you've got great experience with, like 448 experiences, some of you, right? RBP, right? And you know, some of you have had just phenomenal lengths of experiences, and that you would trust enough in him to trust enough in me. I'm honored by that. So I want to do everything I can to gift you.
So a couple of people are saying we should go on a retreat. Yeah, if you go to eventswithsean.com, I'm actually putting on a retreat. It's a mastermind. And somebody's already asked me what the price was, and I kind of threw back a price. They said, well, if it was 10 grand, I'd be going. I go, well, it's going to be a lot less than 10 grand, because this isn't about me getting your money. This is about us changing the world for 600 generations. So there's an application there at eventswithsean.com for you to fill out and see if you'd want to be one of the ones that would come. It's only going to be a handful of people. When I say a handful, 10, unless a whole bunch more people want to come. There is a fee for it, but it's less than 10 grand. And we're probably going to be doing it, I don't know, the end of June, maybe beginning of July. Could be in August, but I think it's the first one is, and it'll probably be beach, because I see everybody saying we should go to the beach.
Heck yeah.
It's just going to be us hanging out. And who knows, we might even get Scott there for a day or two. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, no woods. Yes, people from Europe can apply. Absolutely. You get yourself there. Listen, you get yourself there. It's one fee. It's not you get yourself there and then you pay for your board and you pay for your food. It's kind of an all-inclusive. Let's go to Murph Cancun. So me and some amazing folks will be there. I think RBP will be there, right? So all that to say, this is about Scott's book. This is about helping him. This is about promoting what's happening. Listen, you deserve to have more of what you want and less of what you don't. Right now is your time. The world is coming out of this. It's right behind me, right there. So if you go there, that's mine. And for Scott's book, it's TSWN book. Add the word book, TSWN book.com, and get the book and the workbook. You'll be part of the 2-hour workshop. And for those first 20, we just bumped it up. It gets a half-hour one-on-one with me, a half-hour one-on-one with Scotty. And so that's 10 hours of our time. but we get to do it. We want to do it.
That's the, you said we have the opportunity to do it. Why? Because we got want to.
Yeah, we
right?
got want to. We got a lot to want to.
It's like oh, that's cuteness alert. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I just got I got distracted. It's just the fun of people who have a desire to improve, to want to learn, and again, the only thing some of us more mature folks have, that's code word for old, by the way, is we've had more stuff happen, and there is something to wisdom. Wisdom is hopefully the education gained through those experiences.
Yep.
And if we can help you shortcut some of these things or live it, the one thing that, again, when you become more mature, you figure out the stuff that you should have known all along. You go back to figuring out what's really important. You probably knew it at one time, but all of a sudden you just got clouded. Our world, does anybody notice there's a lot of noise in our world, right? We get these silly things, right? And all of a sudden somebody texts us or calls us, and by God, if somebody texts you and if you don't answer it in like 3 seconds, it's like, what's wrong? What's going on in your world? How come you didn't answer my text? I'm just living. I was on a different call. I was on a Zoom. I was, going to the restroom. My God, right? Just because we have immediacy of communications doesn't mean I'm obligated to immediacy of communications. I'd rather be on a call like this and help all you guys and be able to share some lessons that I've learned over my life to be of service. Again, when you have had the opportunity to hang around the Jack Canfields, Mark Victor Hansen's, Brian Tracy's, Tom Hopkins, Harv Eckers, J.J. Virgins, James Smith, Freddie Rick, Mike Koval, John Dealey. I've been so blessed to be around some of the best. And basically what you do is you take the best that they've shared with you and round yourself into whom you'd like to become to the best of your ability. There are some people I wish I would have paid more attention to. Anybody else have that? Or is that just me? I'm probably the only guy, right? So Sean, any questions from the group or any
folks, if you've got any questions for Scotty, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll do probably another 20 minutes or so, because I know he's got some calls he's got to get on this morning. Let's see. Anne's got a question. Scott, you're gonna love Anne. Anne is just this amazing soul. She's from East Texas. When you hear her accent. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, Sean.
Far East Texas.
Yeah, Far East Texas, like across the pond, Texas. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
So I wanted to ask you a question, because sometimes it's like difficult for me to, like, I am quite hard on myself, but it's quite difficult to be hard on myself as well. So like in terms of like negative situations that have occurred in my life or anyone else's life, do we create that? Like, are we the creators of that? I mean, I understand in terms of like law of attraction, like we attract what we have previously thought or felt, but how do we create certain, like, how am I responsible for someone else's situation, like someone else's response or reaction? Like if I was to use is it Louise, the woman that came
Louise
on,
Hay?
Yeah, Louise. She was talking about her husband or her boyfriend cheating. Like, how is she responsible for him, or is she responsible for him? Or that, I guess that's my question. Like, do I still create that situation even though that person like reacts and responds in that way?
So, God, there's like 6 really great questions in there. So let me unpack them if I can. Great question. First of all, you've already heard me say it once, and it may have landed, it may not have. So let me try to land the plane again. There are either positive situations or less than positive situations. They're not that N word. So one of the first things that you can do is, that is not being naive. That is not ignoring that things are less than positive. That is just changing the way that we classify them. Reframing in our head, actually our thoughts become our feelings, our actions are different things. So as we reframe here, it reframes our heart. It reframes a lot of different things. So the one thing that I would start to do is, the quality of your communications becomes the quality of your life. When you up-level your communication, you also up-level your life. We think 65,000 thoughts a day. Studies show that many times well over 80 to 85% of those thoughts typically are less than positive. Think that through. I mean, if we're thinking that many thoughts a day and they're less than positive, what direction are we going to lean towards? Now, does it cause everything? There's no way to attribute everything to that, but there's a whole lot of possibility that way. The second thing that I would say is, and I talk about this in the book, take 100% responsibility for everything in your life.
Wow.
And the reason is, if you take less than 100% responsibility for everything in your life, you're advocating your power to someone else. In other words, you're giving somebody else power over you.
Oh, wow.
If I'm 100% responsible for everything in my life, I will take different actions, more than likely. Okay? So the next extension of that is to remove blame, shame, and justification in your life. Blame is you did it. Shame is I did it. Justification is, let me explain why it happened. The point is, when you take 100% responsibility, you no longer blame others for what's going on. You no longer shame yourself for what is going on. You no longer work to explain why what's going on is going on. What you'll find is, when you take 100% responsibility, it's amazing what modifies in your life, what improves in your life. So if you take the concept of 100% responsibility and tie it to the 5 questions we've been talking about, right? Let's just say that you've had a car accident and you're driving along and somebody has hit you in the car. You are in your lane, somebody hits you. How am I 100% responsible for that? Well, who put your car there? You did. You're the one driving your car, but they hit you. Yeah, but if you weren't right there, they couldn't have hit you.
Sorry, could
So, Sure, go ahead.
Because I think we've had a discussion like this before on Sean's call, and I didn't really ask him this, but like, let's say like something like rape. I mean, I don't know how, like, if I was in that situation, I don't know how I would take responsibility for that. Like,
very, very tough subject, obviously. Don't condone any bit of that. Let's use it very similar to the car accident analogy.
Okay.
You were in that place. That's, again, not knowing where that place was, not knowing what that situation was, not knowing whatever. By the way, you never heard me say anything about judgment on any of those. And so that it's not a judgment thing, but it's a responsibility thing. In other words, I take responsibility for putting myself in that location. I take that, I mean, who knows what the trigger was that caused that less than positive action from somebody else, right? Could
Yeah.
be clothing derived. It could be a variety of different things. It's not, I did not suggest that doing this was always the easiest to do. A lot of things in life, especially if you're working towards mastery, is hard, right? When you're looking to master a situation. But if this is also a healing process, right? If I blame everybody else, it takes all the it's all their fault. Oh, poor little me. If I shame myself with the situation, oh, how could I be so stupid to blah, 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 blah. Now I belittle me. Oh, the world's just a mean and nasty place and men are pigs. I'm trying to explain it. None of those give me any power. And so and again, there are people who are far more clinically able to address some of the deeper issues of the topic that you just gave me. But the point is, if we understand we all have our responsibility in everything, again, that's a really, really tough situation. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I don't get it. I don't get any part of it. I don't. And I'm sorry for anybody who has gone through that. It's just, I can't imagine being in that situation personally. But what I'm working to suggest is that if you say, you know what, this is what happened, maybe there are things that I could modify to make them better. And while it happened once, bad things happen to good people. They don't have to continue to keep happening.
Yeah.
What things could I do that both strengthen me, the individual, but allow me to get through that situation much, much better? Okay. Again, there's some really great answers popping up on the screen from the chats and things like that. Forgiveness is a big thing there. Forgiveness is a big thing with everybody, quite frankly. Is seek forgiveness and get through, because an event, your past does not have to determine your future. Now, notice what I said. The past doesn't have to. So many times the past becomes the precursor to the future. We tend to continue those patterns. If there's anybody who understands this portion, it's Sean, with his addiction to approval and addiction to why we do certain things. So the point is that while I know it's a difficult concept, potentially in that arena, what I would encourage you, Anne, is to look at the concept in a easier arena to accept, in an easier situation, and get the feel for it that way, and then work towards translating it with that event. Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you,
Scott, and I'll just touch on that just a little bit, because there's such an instant venom around hearing that happen to somebody.
Yeah.
And we instantly put ourselves into of taking a vengeance. Here's the thing that I can speak to is that the act is undeniably emotionally scarred and forever, almost impossible to ever not have it weave in and out of every other breath. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people who work with those people who have been in that situation in that moment is they do very little to keep that rape from happening every day thereafter with their story. The people that are supposed to help them and guide them and clinically direct them is they keep talking about about it to justify it. There is no justification. Even as a child, somebody said, what about a child? If you believe that you picked your parents, right, then maybe that is. But we can come up with 1,001 reasons of logic. There is no logic in situations like that. What drives me a little bit insane is that very few people will work with you, walk back through that fire with you to allow you to have the test that you've been through, to allow you to have the strength. Somebody posted that somebody was 8 years locked up and now helping victims. Heather Love talks about people who have been imprisoned, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. She wouldn't talk about that for 13 years. Is it a good situation? No. Will anybody ever validate it or justify it? No, and they shouldn't. The key is what's happening to the person who's been through that experience. You listen to Kayla Cortez from the age of 14 from the age of 4 to the age of 14 for 10 years, in the morning by her father and in the afternoon by her stepfather, or vice versa, depending upon the day. Her life has changed when she now realizes she can stand in strength and talk about it. I think too many people want to keep it hidden, keep it boxed up, penned up, because they haven't found that if they share it, all of a sudden my love is less. People love me less. Brene Brown says it best. Shame is what drives us over the edge, and guilt is what takes us into action. You didn't cause it. It's not yours. It happened to you. Now the question is what's going to happen through you? It's easy for anybody to sit on the outside and say, yeah, that's too bad it happened for you. You should have done this, or you should have done that. And yeah, we should all over ourselves. This is that sucks, what now? And totally get it. And that word, the R word, just brings up so much. The challenge is on a different level. Many of us have that same thing happen to our dreams every single day, and yet it never makes the news. It doesn't allow us to all band together and get blue ribbons or pink ribbons and we wear them on our shirt because we found a common enemy. Every personal development book, if it doesn't move you forward, it took your time, because there's very little accountability. And that's what we look for when we say that word, accountability for somebody else to pay for something. The question is what do we pay for every day? What does that person who has been through that pay for that? Because we've set up a society where it's not powerful for them to talk about it, where they are demeaned for talking about it. Oh, you shouldn't have been there, or we should go after them. What about the person? What about if we help that person out of that pit of fear and misery and just absolutely distrust? Can we show up? Can we sit there someplace and allow them to fall back in love with themselves? Can we sit there without justifying or validating or telling somebody what they need to do or what they should have done? What can we do to help them in this breath? It's easy to sit there and say, oh, joy or misery. Well, the reality is it is your time ticking away. It is your sand going through the hourglass. Asking tough questions like that are wildly powerful. And even in the asking, it changes the neurons in the brain. It changes the chemical factory that's being produced, that maybe this wasn't my fault. Maybe I didn't do it. but we were still there. Maybe you're the one who becomes the advocate for all of those young girls who don't have the self-confidence, for all of those young boys who don't know how to say, ask a better question. Maybe you're the one who's supposed to be the worldwide, global person who speaks of this story and changes the world and ends human trafficking. Maybe you were given the blessing to bless others with. But see, that is a hard topic to tell somebody when they go, well, you don't know. How do we know they don't know? So, well, there we go.
Sean, just phenomenal as always. And I honor you for being able to translate that in such a great way. This is where it comes to all things happen for us and not to us. There's a reason that we've gone through our experiences and ultimately come out better the other side. Sometimes it's hard to see that it's better, but the fact is it truly is. I can assure you I've been through things in my life that when people sit there and say, you just don't understand. I understand. I had a near-death experience. Well, you don't know what it's like to have a near-death experience. Yeah, I kind of do. Well, you don't understand what it's like to have all your dreams dashed. You know, you're destined to do something, and all of a sudden it's taken away in a moment. Yeah, I kind of do. But it's not. It's from the empathy side. It's from the you've been given a superpower that other people don't have. I know that may sound like a strange description, but that's what just came to me intuitively. Our experiences become our superpowers. I didn't say they were all pleasant. Again, all things work together for our good. What could we do with that piece of knowledge that we have that, quite frankly, some other people have? When so many people in an argument sit there and say, you just don't understand what I'm going through. So if you have that understanding, that means you can help that person because you can empathize with that person at a totally different level that somebody else cannot. And so, again, it's, Laura Story has a song, and I think it's, what if raindrops were actually blessings? To Sean growing up on the farm, right? You got the one farmer that says, oh my God, it's going to rain. It's going to flood all our crops. The other farmer says, hey, you know what? Here's what's going to happen. It's going to nourish all our crops. It's just how you look at it. And I would encourage you to reframe it in a better way for you so that you feel stronger about it. I'll just stop right there. I think that's the message.
Thank you.
Jimmy, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead, Ann. Go ahead, Ann.
Sorry. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Sean.
My pleasure.
And Ann, I need you to hear this. Thank you for your courage.
Absolutely.
Thank you for, whether that be for you or somebody else that you're looking to help. It wouldn't surprise me if it was for somebody else you were wanting to help and be of service to. Maybe that question was more personal, but I do know this. The smile that's on your face in front of that helicopter is a smile that's always been inside of you prior to, afterwards, and it's not a fake smile. It is you and your joy. So thank you for always being here, and thank you for allowing us to share in your energy and in your love, and thank you for sending those all to us from across the pond, way out of East Texas. So
Far East Texas.
Far East Texas. Shammy, you had your hand up earlier, my love. Did you, maybe the kids got a little awakening, so I'm not sure if you're still there.
Hey, yeah, I was just cleaning up some not so
some less than positive experiences.
yes.
Cheerios everywhere.
Yeah. But I was gonna say in the beginning that Scott started talking about his book, he said how he really didn't want to go back to so many stories, and how it might have had even hold him back a little bit from getting the book out sooner. And that to me is like a really big thing. Like, I just don't want to go back to thinking about a lot of stories that are just not too happy. And then he even, like a few minutes later, he even mentioned overwhelmed. And I've wanted to ask you this before, but I haven't, because I kind of know the answer. But how do I go back to my stories and think about that and maybe get it all out into paper, or get it however I need to get it out without getting really overwhelmed? Because I feel like we get way too overwhelmed.
So great question. Here's what I found. The thought of going back to the stories was far harder than going back to the stories and addressing them and reframing them in a positive light, right? When you really understand that they're happening for me, that's a reframing in your mind, right? It just is what it is. This thing happened to me. Why did it happen to me? And it's not the why so much, or it's how can I utilize what has happened to me to serve the greater good? See, when you reframe that it's there for you and it's there for you to serve others with, it takes away, believe it or not, some of the crud you've been through, right? It's like, I wouldn't have wished it. That's the reason for the name of the book. That sucks. I wish it wouldn't have happened this way. What now? No time to sit and have a pity party about it. Time to move forward with it. That sucks. What now? Right?
Scotty, I kind of giggle because a lot of the kids, and again, I'm going to make believe I'm the old guy sitting in the rocking chair. And by the way, Scotty's like a year or two older than me. So he's like my older brother. Had to throw that out.
That was probably not necessary to say, by the way.
But here's the point. Many of us see our pictures on here. How many of us have ever taken a picture, printed it off, and put it in a frame? I want you to just picture this. The reason that we old folks use the term frame is because we can take a picture. I can take a picture and put it in a new frame, and it'll change the picture, doesn't it? Right? Could you imagine some of the pictures from the Victorian era that are in those gold frames that are like 4 and 5 and 6 inches, and we went down to Michael's or any craft store and put it in a plastic frame? Do you think the picture might look a little different? Do you think the value of it might look a little different? So Shami, listen, my love, you know I love you like a little sister, and I want to put you in my pocket all the time. But watch this. When people look at the smile that you just showed us right now, nobody knows you've been through pain. So I need you to remind you, as you put this in this frame, you're already this amazing mom of 3 incredible children right now with this beautiful smile and this incredible hair and this absolutely gorgeous body of workout. You have won. For many people's all intents and purposes, you have hit the golden target. You have hit the bullseye of life and success and what it means to be this incredible mom of 3 kids. You follow me? So when you go back with the frame that says, I've already won. This can't defeat me. I've already been through it. Now it makes it easier to go back and tell the story, because here's the question. Can I bring it to a real heartfelt moment for you? Yes. Any of those lessons that you've been through, would you want any of your little ones, your peanuts, to have to go through them and not have learned the lesson from you? No. So now you get to tell them for nobody else but for them. And because the story will be so powerful, just like Scott's going, nobody wants to read about my crap that happened in my life. And we're like, dude, this happened? Yes, this happened. Well, nobody wants to read that. Are you kidding me? Because when we go through it, we think, nothing special. Scott sits before us as an example of when nothing special means everything special. You sit before us when nothing special means life changing. What Ann shared about means, well, it's so not special. I don't want anybody to know about it. But yet we fall in love with you more and more in every second and every breath. More of you like Scott now than you did when you got on the call. Why? Because of his heartbreaks, because of his heartaches. He's still sitting here. He sits before you as somebody who was broken, put back together, broke. Listen, he makes Humpty Dumpty look like a Fabergé egg. There ain't no cracks in the fat. Scott's got more cracks in both mentally and physically. And how do I know? Because we share cracks. We should. That sounded kind of crazy, didn't it?
A little bit.
Maybe I
Could have said we shared shiners or something.
But Shammy, does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just really understand that when you reframe all that and you put it in a different way, now you can be of service. And now it sounds weird, but you get excited to tell the story.
Yeah.
Not for you, for the other person. See, like I'm excited. I'm honored to be here, to be able to share this, not because I want to relive what I've been through, but so that I can be of service to you. And now that gives me purpose and drive going forward. And that's where I got caught, because I thought, I'm reliving these stories. But all of a sudden you get free from those stories because of the purpose of telling the story. That's why I'm sitting here saying, it's not about chronicling my life. It's about finding out the solutions that were developed because of the junk. It's like the little kid who goes to a birthday party, right, and sees a big old pile of manure. And one kid looks at it and goes, oh, that's stinky. It's a big pile of manure. And another kid goes racing in and jumps in and starts knocking the manure everywhere. And the one kid goes, what are you doing? That's a pile of manure. He said, with a pile like this, there's got to be a pony here somewhere. Right? Are you looking for the pony or are you looking for the manure? Right? Find the pony.
Yeah, that makes sense. It made me think, Sean, it made me kind of think of Kayla, how she says she's excited now because she knows she's in service. And everything that Scott said makes me think like maybe the first time is just not going to be easy.
So remember the 4 stages, right? Kyle Cease talks about the 4 stages. He talks about the fear. That's where you're at right now. Then the sadness. That's where Scotty was when he actually started putting pen to paper. He's like, who's going to really want to read this? And then there's the excitement of, oh my gosh, this is pretty amazing. And then it becomes the new normal. Right? Everybody has these memes and these videos and a million views of somebody going, level up, right? Whatever the hell that music is. And they're doing all this stuff, but they're not leveling up. We can watch somebody else level up. It's time for us to level up. That sucks. What now? And there's a level up. That's
exclamation point.
Level up. Exclamation point. Exactly. All things happen for our good. That was good. AJ, Alex, let's go to Alex. I think we're going to Serbia, Scott.
Yes,
Awesome.
Serbia. Universe doesn't want me to ask this question. My hand got removed like 2 times or something, so that's rippled up.
And I wasn't touching nothing. So
I know.
I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you to Scott.
Oh, thank you. Hey, listen, Scotty.
I'm excited to get the book and the
My pleasure.
journal in the mail.
My pleasure.
Tammy is this amazing, beautiful little soul who is bigger than the world and absolutely has this desire. So I'm going to say this, and Shammy, I need you to hear this. Scott, it was your privilege today to meet Shammy. And I know you'd say that with everybody, but she's just this amazing soul.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I love ya.
Yay. Let's go back to Alex, another amazing soul. He's like 18 going on 104. So he's got some great conversations here.
Yeah, Sean, thank you for the compliments. I'm actually starstruck because I want to get into public speaking, and you two gentlemen have a combined more hours of public speaking than me living. So yeah,
Scotty's got that by a long shot. You know, he looks good for 80.
Yeah. So I'm actually a bit starstruck, but the question was anyways about overcoming the things, like when you go out and you speak your ideas to the world, right? And you have all that like inner mind game of success in your mind, and you are doing priming, and you're doing just attracting everything positive and thinking and growing rich, right? But so when you go out and you tell people you're gonna make it, you tell yourself you're gonna make it. As Les Brown says, you sell yourself to your abilities every day. Um, and then I went out and opened my first online business, and it failed miserably. And then I opened the second one, and that one failed. And boy, ooh, did that one fail. And then I opened the third one, and the third one kind of slightly broke even. And then I opened the fourth one, and yeah, the fourth one failed. So and that and during all that time, you are telling yourself you're gonna make it. You're visualizing every day. You're living in your mind in the future when you already made it. You're living as a millionaire. You're living as as this spiritualized person who changed the lives of a million. My goal is not to make $1 million because that's easy. My goal is to change the lives of a million people, and the money will follow, right? Don't chase the riches, chase the improvement, right? So how do you battle your mind once again to overcome fear of previous failures, because that's what we're addicted to, is my opinion actually. uh how do I overcome this fear, especially because English is not my first language, and I want to do public speaking in English, and I've written speeches in English, and I do videos and free content about some things I do in English. And one of my friends actually told me at one point when I said, "Listen, this is what I want to do. I do this, I do that," and she was like, well, why are you showing off? Like, why do you need online business at 18? Why do you need to do that? And then I realized that, like, I see what they want, and they see what prevents them from getting to what they want. So I just yeah, Rob, I know it's horrible, but anyways, I just don't know how to continue this ongoing battle. Like, how to overcome and try again, because it costs money, and European standards are not as American. So when you want to start a business with $1,000 in
Hey,
America,
Alex.
it's kind of easy, but here, ooh boy.
Alex, great question. Would you like an answer?
Woo, yeah. I
Then
want your
you-
help. I
Yeah.
want to
So
make
the
it
key is you
comfortable.
got to, after you ask the question, what do you need to do?
Shut up.
There you go. I love you. Go ahead,
Shutting up.
Scotty.
Shutting up. Shutting up.
Well,
Oh, boy.
there's multiple great questions in there, Alex. I am
Thank you.
I'm inspired by your enthusiasm at 18.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Don't let the vision vandals come in and take any of that from you. The fact is, there are people that God didn't put this vision on their heart. He put the vision on your heart.
Yeah.
So your vision is your vision, and live to your vision. You don't have to justify to them why it's important to you unless you choose to. But
Yeah.
the reality is, it's okay to do whatever. I would immediately modify some of my languaging. So if English is not your first language, let me give you some words to use.
All right.
Why did I have these 3 learning events out of the first 4 websites? Is
Mm.
totally different than why did I fail? Because you didn't fail. How do I know you didn't fail? I can see you. You're not hiding. Failure means you're not on the planet. You're here. You're right there. I can see you. So you have not failed. It did not work out the way you anticipated. It did not meet your goals. There's a lot of things that you could say about it, but you did not fail. What you want to do from this point forward is you want to improve your status, not change your status. So again, get accustomed to the word improve versus change. That's a big one for you. And say, get in touch with that website number 1, website number 2, and website number 4 were all great learning events. See, Edison, when he created the light bulb,
Yeah.
quote unquote, took 10,000 plus steps to get it to work. When somebody said you had 10,000 failures, he said, I didn't have a single failure. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work.
Yeah.
He didn't have any failures. So the point is he had to, quote unquote, find the ways that didn't work based on, let me ask you a question. When you put up website number 1, did you purposely try to tank that website and make it, quote unquote, not work?
Oh, well, obviously not. I mean, that's not.
Well, it's not obvious because it didn't work. So I just want to make sure. So when you put up website number 2, did you put it up to purposefully not work?
Nope.
When you put up number 3 to just break even?
Nope. I wanted to work. But it didn't.
Okay. So number 4 to make it not work?
Nope.
So did you learn anything along the way?
Yeah, obviously some techniques work better than others. and
Okay,
some
novel
don't.
concept. Welcome to being a human being.
Uh,
Welcome to being an entrepreneur. Welcome to understanding that some things work and some things are less than perfect, right? And so you've gained the knowledge of ways to avoid. You've gained the fact that I took this step and gosh, at least it broke even. That was good, right? So again, don't, as far as your English and as far as public speaking, you've got a niche that Sean and I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
You've got something that we don't have. My Serbian accent is terrible.
yeah.
So you've got a gift that we don't have. So the point is that when you are talking to somebody and for somebody, you can say, here's where I came from. And while I may not have it down exactly the way Americans have English down, I'm not American.
Yeah.
I'm Serbian and proud of it. But I do have a desire to communicate a very valuable message. So stand strong in who you are. You're individual. You were born uniquely qualified to be the best you could be.
Scott, could you imagine if at 18 we had somebody like us to pick their brains?
No, I mean,
no. Could you imagine? Listen, so this would be the equivalent of a Bob Proctor, a Jack Canfield sitting on stage, and you've got the chance to ask them the questions, and you're like, well, yeah, but you don't have the reach they do. They ain't doing calls like this.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Alex, you're doing amazing, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you back.
Well, there you go, folks.
Does that help you, Alex?
Amazing another day
For sure. Yeah. Thank you.
of conversation, of gratitude, of listen, tswnbook.com to get Scotty's book and workbook. I appreciate you all for being here this morning. Scotty, any last words to this amazing crew that hangs out with us?
I just want to say thank you to everybody for allowing me to come in here. Thank you, Sean, for sharing the book and the workbook with everybody. I owe all of you. I want to impart more on you with whatever you want to hear in future dates. And I look forward to our one-on-ones together. I look forward to our Sean and I teaming up to train those who took advantage. I want you all to understand how freaking blessed you are that a guy like Sean G. Murphy has taken the time and the energy and the effort 448 times to be here for you, to be here to help you achieve your goals, your dreams, your desires, to help us through your awakenings, to be vulnerable enough as a leader of this group to handle things with such great expertise. I'm honored that Sean's my friend. I'm honored he even talks to me, and I'm serious about that. I'm not kidding with that. I honor those times are so valuable that I just want to thank everybody for taking the action on the book and on the workbook. I look forward to doing everything we possibly can to impart more to serve you. honored with it all. Thank you, Sean, for everything that you've done for me and my family and all that I end up touching because of you. God, here we go again. Well, we started that way. I might as well end that way. Just love you all. Know that
Buddy,
I'm
we
here to be
love
of
you.
service.
We love you and appreciate you. So again, thank you for all of that. And as we do, to bring a little, because we've had a lot of male testosterone speaking and communicating, even through the tears. I always like to go and do our little wrap up with the East Texas Amazing Soul RBP. What'd you get from this morning?
Oh, well, Scott, you know how much I love you. I can't turn my camera on because my signal's iffy and I can't talk and show my face at the same time. So y'all are blessed for that. You know how much I love you. You have impacted my life from the moment Sean allowed me to fall in love with his friend and shared you with me. And I got to be wrapped up in your big old arms and hugged and squeezed and loved on. And you have this voice that comforts my heart and you speak to my soul. And you and I share the same place and love for God. And you send encouraging messages to me at different times and you share things that speak right to my spirit. When Sean told me about this book, I was so excited. I've heard little bits and pieces, and I've had those moments of sitting around just hearing you and Sean not on camera and not on, so to speak. And I've got to just marinate in you and your wisdom and your love. And Sean, yes, Sean provides an amazing place every morning. He does. Scott, what you have, nobody else has. Nobody else has. And your heart is so big and so sensitive and so genuine. And the place you provide anybody to show up, male or female, and you remain the same and your energy remains the same no matter what. You're such a giving soul. When he told me about this book, I was over the moon excited for you because I know the release this is for you. And you have so many blessings from heaven just waiting to be poured down on you. And this is starting to trickle. And before you know it, it is going to be rushing over you like a mighty waterfall. And it will be pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. And what I have felt, everybody else will get to feel because it will pour on them. And you will change the trajectory of lives that you may never hear about, but it'll be multiple lives. And to have the gift, Sean snuck up on me because I didn't know he was doing this morning. And usually he gives me a heads up, so the little booger didn't tell me. So it was quite a wonderful surprise whenever I saw your name pop up as I was going through the names this morning. And I thought, oh, Scott's getting to listen in. No, Scott got to speak. I am honored. And I want to honor you as a woman. I want to honor you as an amazing man that I allow to speak to my heart and speak into me and grow me. And I love you. You know that. I don't live far from you. So, buddy, I'm going to be coming up there and getting my book personally. Like, screw the mail thing. I'm coming in for a hug. I'm coming in for some coffee. I'm coming in for lunch, whatever I have to do. And I'm going to sit with you some more, and we're going to celebrate this. So thank you for blessing us. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you, Rhonda. Oh, sheesh.
Yeah. These are just a big old softy. Big old. Love you, buddy. So there you go, folks. Thank you for being a part of the Misfit crew. Thank you for being a part of you taking care of you. And I'm Sean Murphy, along with my dear brother,
Scott Schilling.
We'll see y'all where? At the next
event.
Tomorrow.
I'll send some love to each other.
See y'all.
Bye, gentlemen. Thank you so much for this amazing call. Love you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all have a great day.
Bye, guys. Love you. Have a good day.
Bye, guys. I love you.
Bye-bye.
I love you guys so
Have a great
much.
day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you guys.